Caitlin Clark has proven she is the most exciting basketball player in all of college sports. But does she need a championship to be considered one of the greatest of all time? The Packers organization is apparently a complete mess. Matt LaFleur doesn't know when his players are coming and going. Gutekunst, the GM, and him don't have any conversations about player personnel. That cannot last. And we're here to give you advice on over-unders in the NFL. And trust me, it's advice you don't want to take. That and more coming up on Sports Talk with Dad right now. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. As always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who was alive when Easter bunnies first started laying eggs. My dad, Tim.
No, I'm not. And when did that start, by the way?
I looked this up the other day. It's actually an old Christian tradition in Easter.
Easter bunnies laying eggs?
So, well, not them laying eggs, but eggs are a sign of life.
Fertility.
And bunnies are a sign of fertility. And so it's, Jesus rose from the dead. And so it's a celebration of life and new life because of new life. And so they started really talking about bunnies as an example. And then eggs, I don't remember which country it is. It's some Dutch European country.
Well, that'd be the Netherlands if it was Dutch.
Something like that. Netherlands or Poland or I don't know, somewhere in that area. Geography is not my strong suit. But they actually started painting these beautiful eggs, and they still do because my wife showed me the price tag on them, and they're like $300 each. But they actually hand paint these unbelievable eggs. But yeah, that's where it actually came from because I had no idea. I just learned.
All I know is I gave up marshmallow eggs and jelly beans for Lent, which you guys don't know me, but that's really hard for me to do. I go to get the marshmallow eggs.
Yeah.
There's like 2 left. And the worst part is I went to go and get my green and yellow Brock's jelly beans, and your kids ate the yellow ones.
They like the yellow ones. Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I love the yellow ones.
I don't. It was a match made in heaven for a while because I like all of them but the yellow ones.
And I can't eat Starburst because I made that mistake once because the green ones aren't lime, as they should be.
Okay. Hold on. Pause the show here for a second. You are wrong on this.
Not.
So this is a generational thing by far because you obviously grew up when Starbursts were lime.
Yes.
They were never lime when I was a kid. They've always been green apple.
Well,
And Skittles changed when I was in, middle school.
I learned that one the hard way one day too. Bah.
They had a lime pack and a green apple pack, and then everybody bought the green apple pack because the world agrees with me. Green apple is a much better flavor than lime.
The world is wrong. The lime goes with lemon, and it should be
It's not about
always
going
lime.
with each other. That's not the point. It's about
It is in my world.
enhancing flavors.
I like 2 colors. I don't eat jelly beans other than the green and the yellow, and the green should always be lime.
No.
Yes.
Lime is gross.
No.
Fake lime is one of the most disgusting flavors on the earth.
Again, you're wrong.
No,
It
I'm
proves
not. Green
point.
apple is a much better green flavor than
No.
lime.
No. No apple is a good flavor of anything other than pie and applesauce.
What?
I can't just eat an apple.
Yeah, you're weird about that.
Well, I've got a very good reason. When I was a kid, if I'd get the stomach flu, which I did way too much when I was a kid,
Sure.
my doctor said, just give him scraped apple.
Yeah.
I won't touch one. No. Ugh. Bad memories. Bad.
See, I feel bad for Grayson. He likes apples, but he's allergic to them. He's allergic to the skin.
The skin. Well, then peel them for him.
I do, but he doesn't like it without the skin. He's like, it's not as crunchy.
I can't help him there.
And I'm like, well, then eat it with the skin. But then, his throat closes off. So that's not a good
Yeah,
idea.
you can't do that either.
So he's kind of stuck. And so I'm very happy he gets to enjoy the immaculate flavor of
Blech.
green apple, jelly beans, and Skittles.
Well, then eat the green apple. Leave my lemon ones alone.
I don't touch those. It was always a match made in heaven. You ate the green and the yellow, or left the green if they were green apple, and I ate the rest.
Yeah, not anymore.
No, that's your
They
fault, by
inhaled
the way.
them.
It's your fault.
Why is it my fault?
Because you're like, try a yellow one, thinking they wouldn't like it,
Hoping.
and they loved it.
Yeah.
And Jack really started it. My youngest son, he really started it. He fell in
did.
love with them, and then Grayson started to like them.
And-
It's really Jack that eats the yellow ones.
And I can't get upset with it because they can do whatever they want because they're the grandkids.
The grandkids. Yeah, I wish I got that privilege when I was younger.
You did from your grandparents.
Yeah, they loved me.
Yes.
Just remember,
More than me.
yeah, your mother loved me more than she loved you.
Oh, she told me.
That's how it always goes. But
We've
we
got-
have other big news
Yes,
going
we
on.
do.
We do. So we teased it last week, and we actually get to announce it this week. We have officially joined the TV network NGBN TV. So not only can you enjoy us on YouTube as always, but you can also enjoy us on Apple TV, on Roku, on Google Chrome, on any of the devices out there, including any mobile device, directly from the app of NGBN TV.
We are thrilled. We actually were approached by a couple, which still blows me away, but NGBN reached out to us, and I love what they do.
Yeah.
They are focused on helping men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even 30s.
Now 30s, because I'm a part of it.
Correct. Who are having a hard
40s.
time. Not yet. Close.
Shush.
Who are having a hard time, and they're trying to turn around the suicide rate of men in that age bracket because it's skyrocketing. And our family has been directly touched by suicide. If anybody listened to the last word last week, I was directly touched. He was one of the generations down the line that's touched. Suicide affects families, not just the people involved, but for generations afterwards. So, Ben, it is not embarrassing to ask for help.
Nope.
If you're facing a hard time, reach out. We'll get you the help you need.
We've talked about our stuff we have before, and we're not going to go into it again, but you and I had some issues back in the day. It's one of the things that bonded us to do this show, to get out of some dark places we were in, and it feels embarrassing. But
It does.
We all have problems. We all do, and there's a special event actually coming out with NGBN TV on April 6th.
Hello, my name is Craig Hannum. I'm with NGBN TV on April 6th. We'll be conducting 2 live broadcasts back-to-back, 9 to 11 Eastern, 9 to 11 Pacific. It's called Equip Ourselves to Save a Life. Let's end suicide in North America. I'm inviting you to join us. I will teach you the subtle indicators on how to prevent suicide. You don't want to miss this. It's unprecedented. It's never happened before. No network has ever tried this, and we're going to do it. We're going to end suicide. So please join me. It's 100% free to register. I'll see you there.
We will link it in the description below. Make sure you check that out, because while we have fun here, we also care deeply about everybody watching the show. And if you are struggling, we have a place to get you some help.
So thank you, NGBN. We are proud to be part of your network.
Very, very excited. Did you just tell people I was close to being 40 years old?
Closer every day.
No.
Yeah.
I am not anywhere close to being 40. Okay?
Really?
No,
Uh-huh.
I'm not. I'm not even mid-30s yet.
Okay.
I have 6 months till I'm in my
You know what
mid-30s.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. You know what today is? It's a big day in the Milwaukee area where we're located.
Yes.
It is the
Baseball
home
season.
It's the home opener for the Milwaukee Brewers, and
Yes.
the best part about baseball in Milwaukee is a legend.
Are you going to fanboy right now?
I am going to so fanboy. Bob Uecker is broadcasting and starting his 54th year broadcasting the Brewers. He started in 1971 with a guy named Merle Harmon. Bob Uecker is not appreciated around the country. Everybody knows him from Major League. They know him from the Bud Light commercial, or the Miller Lite commercial, sorry.
Bud Light was Harry Carey.
Harry Carey.
Come on.
Miller Lite commercials, Mr. Belvedere,
Yeah.
or Monday Night Baseball if you go way back. But Uecker is every bit as good as the Vin Scullys, the Harry Careys, the Jack Bucks of the world. He's one of the best baseball play-by-play men to have ever done the job. Plus, and rain delays, you get some of the best stories you've ever heard.
Yeah.
And he is still in the booth. God bless Bob Uecker. I even go back and watch some of the old Johnny Carsons when he was on there because he just cracked him
Because
up.
he was around when you were in your mid-30s on
He's-
Johnny Carson. So
I was not in my mid-30s on Carson, but he was on there, and I love Bob Uecker. And I mean, I love all the stuff he's done, but this guy from Milwaukee,
Yeah.
that played
Grew up
his
here.
first major league game at County Stadium.
Yeah, the better stadium.
Won a, we're not going on AmFam today. Won a World Series ring with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yep.
And afterwards started doing stand-up in New Orleans with a guy named Al Hurt,
Ouch.
who's best known as a trumpet player who did the theme song for the Green Hornet. I am totally nerding out right now, excuse me, but
Yeah, you're fanboying pretty hard. Like this is.
hey, I've got Uecker's picture up here. He is the best.
Uh-huh.
And everybody should celebrate with me
Yeah.
that Bob Uecker is still broadcasting baseball at 90 years old.
Is he 90 years
Yeah.
old? Wow.
And still sounds, I listened to him this afternoon before we started recording. He still sounds fabulous.
Wow.
He is just.
I didn't realize
best.
he was younger than you.
I don't like you. Let's talk some basketball.
Talk some basketball.
I watched the Iowa LSU game last night.
That was a good game.
That was
for
incredible.
like 2.5 quarters.
Yeah, and then Iowa pulled away. Caitlin Clark and somebody from LSU got hurt.
Oh, yeah. Angel Reese.
Angel Reese, thank you. She got hurt, so that affected the game because Iowa wasn't stopping her on the inside. But Caitlin Clark, my God, lining it up from the logos.
Yeah.
With three.
She's good.
No, she's probably the best women's player to ever come play.
Got to win a championship.
She does. I agree with that.
You can't be the best if you don't win a championship. That is an old age rule, and it stands. Caitlin Clark is the most exciting player to watch. She's awesome. But one of the things that kind of, to me, hurts the legacy a little bit is, one, she doesn't have a championship. If she wins a championship, great. Like,
If she wins it
greatest of
this
all time.
year,
It's her last
absolutely.
chance.
Because she's going against UConn this weekend, and she probably is going to have to beat South
Yeah,
Carolina.
but here's the thing, though, that's crazy with Caitlin Clark is she doesn't have a team.
It's like LeBron in Cleveland.
Yeah, when Mo Williams was the second best player.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Like, she is dragging this team behind her. Like, she's averaging 32 points a game. The next highest player is 13.8. And then only one other person is averaging double-digit points per game.
You're making the argument for her being the greatest to ever play the game.
They just hand her the ball
Yeah.
and move out of the way.
Well, or
Like, it's not a game for Iowa. Like, that is what makes her great, is you know what's about to happen.
but she's also a great passer.
She is. She facilitates extremely well. What's her assists per game? 9 assists per game.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that high.
She's
The next
incredible.
highest assists per game is 3 on that team, by the way. And
Yeah.
I guarantee all the assists are to Caitlin Clark.
There was a woman back in the late 80s before the WNBA, Nancy Lieberman, who
Yeah.
was the most well-known women's basketball player at the
Yeah,
time.
I've heard you talk about her before.
And when she came out, she actually played. There was talk she'd play on a men's league. I don't know, in an NBA team. I don't know if she tried out or not, but she played with the Globetrotters.
Yeah.
She ended up at 39 joining the WNBA when it first started. She's now a coach in Ice Cube's Big Three league. And her son actually plays in Israel.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Caitlin Clark couldn't play for her team.
what would you do? Do you go to the
If I'm offered
WNBA?
$5 million for 10 games, I go and play in Ice Cube's league for 10 games, and then I go and join the WNBA.
I don't know if their schedules cross, but
How much is the WNBA going to pay?
not that much.
I mean,
And that's something they're going to have to address because they've got the money to pay these women more.
they don't. They borrow it from the NBA. Like, let's not
Okay.
mistake this. Like, it's the NBA's revenue that carries
Right.
the women's league, and there's nothing against the women's league. It's just
Look,
people don't turn it on. Nobody watches it.
Caitlin Clark is going to compete against Steph Curry if he still doesn't retire next year because she shoots threes
In
from
the
the
3-point
logo.
contest?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She shoots
you have
them
to do it
from the
men's-
logo.
Men's line. You have to do it from the men's line. You have to do it from the men's line. Period.
She does it from the logo, so she's beyond the
That's
men's
fair.
line. But she is just unbelievable. This has been, I would argue that the men's and women's tournament, the women's tournament has been more exciting so far this year.
She's exciting to watch. Iowa's brand of basketball, though, while Caitlin Clark is exciting to watch, the Iowa brand of basketball is kind of boring. LSU is much more exciting to watch. They actually, pass the ball to each other back and forth, and it was just get the ball to Caitlin Clark.
You've got LeBron on your team.
I
Where's
know.
the ball going?
It was boring watching the Cavaliers when it was
All right.
just LeBron. I'm not saying anything. but they're going to be in trouble coming into much better teams.
It's going to be tough because you got
You have
UConn,
South Carolina and NC State in
Well,
the Final Four, and then they're playing UConn
which is going to be tough.
next, where you have 5 starters all averaging double-digit points. I mean, it's just you got away with the Caitlin Clark show for a while, but this is what's going to hurt her, and this is her legacy on the line. She's going to have to drag this team across the finish line.
It's going to be, can one
And UConn's been
unbelievable
here before.
player beat good teams?
And we really don't see it happen. We really don't. LeBron obviously lost in Cleveland, and he's
Then he
arguably
won.
the best player of all time with 3 other superstars,
Yeah,
2 other superstars, and one guy that performed better than he should have.
it's
So-
going to be interesting to see. And-
It's going to be hard to get past UConn. UConn is coached by a guy who's won several national championships.
You know, I screwed up the name last year too.
Yeah, you're going to
Gino.
do it again. I'm not even
Gino.
going to try.
Ariama.
It's going to be hard for her to get past UConn, and especially if it's South Carolina or NC State. It's going to be tough. I have a question for you with this, because I honestly don't know. Have there ever been a Final Four where there were 2 schools that had both men and women basketball teams in the Final Four?
Yeah, we talked about that before the show started. I know there was a time when UConn, because they won both.
Right.
I don't think there's ever been a time with 2 schools. NC State's obviously in the Final Four in men's and women's, and
Yeah.
so is UConn. I've never seen that.
This could be a championship with both men's and women's school competing.
It could.
Because NC State's got a much better shot. If you saw our picks last week, be glad you didn't listen to me, because that was not what I picked to happen at all. UConn and Purdue are my champions. That's who I've had in my bracket from the word go that would be in the finals when it's all said and done.
Best game of the weekend will be Burns Jr. versus Edie from Purdue.
I am so excited to watch that game,
That's going to be unbelievable.
because you have a guy who is just 300 pounds of athlete,
Yes.
and you have Edie who is
7-4.
7'4" and
Hard to stop.
kind of a Sean Bradley-esque type, doesn't really move the same way. It's going to be interesting to see that. And in the women's side, UConn versus Iowa, again, it's Caitlin Clark versus the Huskies.
Right.
That's really all it is.
Except if she can unload and the other Iowa players can step up.
They're going to have to. She can't do it on her own. She can't. There's no way you're going to beat UConn with her doing it on her own.
My question is, seriously, why don't they just double team Clark to make sure she can't get those threes? I mean, she's good
They
enough.
try.
She's going to get her shots.
Yeah.
But
They try. I mean, she's, again, best basketball player in women's basketball right now. She is unstoppable when it comes to getting around people and finding ways to get open.
and no, she shouldn't play in the NBA.
She should.
That. Excuse me?
Why not?
Because she's not good enough to play in the NBA. As good as she is, yes, she can compete in a 3-point shoot-off against Steph Curry in the All-Star game. No, she can't take the pounding day in and day out in the NBA. Nancy Lieberman couldn't. No.
It'd be fun to see her try. Maybe she'll surprise you.
Even in a no-touchy NBA that they have
I was
now.
going to say, it's not like a physical sport anymore.
No. And I don't think she'd do that to the WNBA.
She's going to bring a lot of attention to the women's. But yes, she should
positive.
definitely go to Ice Cube's league and play for 10 games. Why would she?
If it's only 10 games and take the $5 million, it's great for Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Because otherwise his league is barely heard of.
Yeah.
I mean, it was smart publicity wise for him to make that offer.
I agree. I don't think there's any way she goes. She should go to WNBA and have a Hall of Fame career.
Well, she's got the Olympics coming up too.
I forgot about that.
I mean, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese on the same team,
That'd be awesome.
along with WNBA players.
Yep.
How do you stop them?
You don't. I mean, there's a reason the United States destroys in basketball. We have the best basketball players in the world.
We do.
And it's just a matter of the men's side actually contributing and actually playing. Let's talk Final Four real quick. Let's go on the women's side.
All right.
We have UConn and Iowa. Who you got?
My heart wants to go with Iowa, but I think this is where Caitlin's run ends. I think UConn wins.
How dare you give up on Caitlin Clark?
Sorry.
How dare you?
Okay. Who are you taking?
UConn.
And on the other side, we've got NC State versus South Carolina.
I'm going to pick this with my heart here because
Yeah.
I want to see it happen. I'm going to pick NC State to win this, although South Carolina is the best team in women's basketball.
And I'm going to go with South Carolina. They won by 30 in the Elite Eight. I mean, they're just unbelievable.
They're a real good team.
Yeah.
That's just it. If either of these teams, if Iowa makes it past UConn magically, which I don't think they will, but if they do,
I'm rooting for.
They're going to hit South Carolina, and it's just going to be over.
Yeah.
It's going to be all she wrote. Men's side, you have UConn, Alabama.
UConn. Not even close.
Roll Tide. I mean, UConn's going to win. I just wanted to say Roll Tide.
All right.
That was fun for
The
me.
other side, NC State and Purdue.
It all depends on the big men. This is a. When's the last time we've said it depends on the big men
Been a long
in
time.
basketball?
Been a long time, but you have two of the most dominant big men I've ever seen.
I mean, this kid from NC State, like nobody's heard of him before, and all of a sudden he is.
And he is going to take NC State over Purdue, by the way.
Yeah.
This has all the feel of a Valvano run.
I mean, I'm picking Purdue, but my heart's with NC State on this one.
I think NC State can win it all.
I'd like to see a Big Ten team win it. I really would.
Well,
And
I would
that's
too.
That's a Big Ten pick, but NC State has a really good team. This is their first time since '83 making it in the Final
Since
Four.
the Valvano year.
Yeah, where he couldn't find somebody to hug.
Poor guy.
That's still one of the funniest things I've ever seen on television.
And then one of the greatest inspirational speeches of all time at the ESPYs, where guys were trying to cut him off, and he's just looking like, I got tumors all over my body, and this guy's telling me to stop. Right. I mean, he was amazing.
On to something different. You let us know what you think in the comments below, and while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
This topic hurts.
What's going on with the Packers, man?
We've talked about it before that they are siloed. Mark Murphy is the CEO.
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur rolls up to Mark Murphy.
Yeah.
Brian Gutekunst, the GM, rolls up to Mark Murphy.
Well, and this is something we talked about earlier in the week, and I guess I understood it, but I never
did.
conceptualized what it entailed, which is I personally, and this is me, I personally gave Matt LaFleur a lot of flack because he made that comment of saying, well, when Carlson comes up to kick, we just pray. Off record or not, right? It got out, and I gave him a lot of flack for that. I didn't realize he actually has zero say in if Carlson's on his team or
this
not.
all came out really with Josh Jacobs and the releasing of Aaron Jones. Those decisions were made by Brian Gutekunst alone.
Matt LaFleur had no idea.
No, he found out in the media.
He found out in the media that not only did they sign Josh Jacobs, but that Aaron Jones was gone. He wasn't a part of that conversation at all.
And that's the problem.
And again, it made me conceptualize what this power dynamic really means. It's telling him, you play with my team.
Right.
You're coaching my team. And this is where it comes down to Ron Wolf and Mike Holmgren, if you remember back in the day, where, yes, Mike Holmgren reported to Ron Wolf, but again, no say in his players. And that's the one thing he wanted. He's like, I want some say in my roster. And that turned into a whole pissy match with back and forth and got him to go to Seattle, where he had full control over his roster. And by the way, helped build a Super Bowl roster.
And by the way, it was the biggest failure of Bob Harlan and Ron Wolf's careers in not including Holmgren in those decisions.
Well, especially since Ron Wolf was gone 2 years later.
Right. And it would have been Holmgren's team.
Right.
And we wouldn't have had to suffer through the guy I will not name.
That's fair. That's also
Go ahead, name him.
some rough years.
There was-
No, because you're asking me to name him because you can't remember his name,
Put him out of my mind.
and it's Mike something. And I can't remember it either off the top of my head. So that was cruel. You could have left it just not be named, and we would have both, just
Save
not
face?
remembered his name. Thanks, though. I appreciate that.
Got it.
I'm going to take you down with me on that one.
Anyway.
I don't understand this Mike Sherman.
Mike Sherman, thank you.
Man. Whew, we got there, though. I don't understand how you can run an organization like this, though.
You can't, and that's the problem. This is Goody's.
How could a coach not have any say on the roster?
Because LaFleur is not Goody's guy. People forget that Murphy hired LaFleur with no input from Goody.
Before he hired Goody. Matt LaFleur
Yes.
was hired first.
He was. But you hire your GM first, and you have him involved in the decision on the coach.
But I don't think Gutekunst wanted LaFleur. Don't forget.
I know.
They met with one coach.
Yes, Murphy made the call completely in a vacuum.
Yeah, they met with LaFleur. And hey, it's been a pretty solid decision.
Okay, fine. But what happens? Murphy's gone as of summer of 25.
Yeah, he's going to be there for the draft.
Gutekunst and LaFleur are still going to be employed by the Packers in the summer of 25.
Mhm.
The new president of the Packers is going to have to look, hopefully, and say, okay, Matt, you're rolling up to Gutekunst.
LaFleur leaves.
That's not going to end well.
No, LaFleur's going to leave.
I mean, it's Goody should, if this is an ego trip completely from Goody, you've got to involve your coach. This is his team.
And I understand making decisions like having Aaron Jones walk. He's making the decision because he's like, we're going to let him go a year sooner rather than a year later, which I don't fully agree with, by the way. I really don't. But I understand in some situations it makes sense. Like,
not in this one.
But he did the same with Jordy Nelson back in the day, and he went on to have a great year the next season and then got hurt the year after. It's like, why would you do that when you're on a Super Bowl run? But if you look at specifically the Carlson decision, right?
Do we have
You have a kicker that's missed 27 kicks in a year. He ended up missing the biggest kick of the season, which you knew he was going to because it was on the left hash mark. He doesn't make him if they're on the left hash mark. That's just what he does. How can a coach not say, we're bringing in another kicker?
Right, and he
sees him in training camp. He sees him in practice. He knows what's going to happen on that game. And to put the coach in a situation where he says, we just pray.
Right, and he was being serious because that's all he could do. He's got to have, a kicker needs to be able to make everything from the 45 in, no question.
Right.
They had somebody like that up until
Max Crosby.
last year.
And for those of you that say, well, he missed the only kick he made with the Giants, he hadn't kicked all year.
Right.
He hadn't kicked all year. He's in a new organization, in a random situation. Like, you can't, it was his first kick in a game in a year.
You put him in with familiar surroundings, with a Packer uniform on, he makes that kick in San Francisco,
he's
I think.
fired up, especially in the postseason.
Right.
Crosby doesn't miss in the postseason.
He never did. And to do this to him by making him live with a rookie kicker who was making about 60% of his kicks.
He can't kick. You know who they need to get is that kid from the XFL that plays for Michigan right now.
He's amazing.
He nailed it.
Yeah, and it was 64 yards. Good for him. I don't care about 64 yards.
I don't either.
Make everything from the inside the 50.
I'm with you. Well, I don't even need it from inside the 50.
You need 45.
Make it from inside the 30.
Yeah, we didn't have that either.
Like, that's a 40-yard field goal. If you're an NFL kicker, you need to be automatic from inside 40. I don't care if you can bomb the thing 70 yards down the field. I really don't. You should never, as a team, be in a situation where you need to kick a 70-yard field goal. The only time that's ever happened where it's like, okay, it makes sense is Justin Tucker, who's the greatest kicker of all time. It's not even a question.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a last-ditch effort where it's like, he's got the leg. Let's see what he can do. Nobody expected him to make that kick. You can't have a situation where you have to make a field goal within 40 yards and miss it, and your coach not have any say in if that kicker he sees every single day gets to play or not.
And this is why they didn't want to be on Hard Knocks, because it's not LaFleur making the decisions on who's staying and who's going. But let's take a look at this kicking situation. They just brought in the guy from Minnesota.
Correct.
Who has kicked and has been great.
Correct.
For a long time. But
Goody
Goody
gets
is
to make
making
that
the
choice.
call.
Yeah.
No matter how bad Carlson is, if Goody says Carlson's staying, we're going to give him another year, how stupid are you?
Well, and that wasn't the case when Ted Thompson was here, because you remember Mike McCarthy made the decision to stick with Max Crosby after he had a bad 2012. Matt Crosby, sorry. I keep saying Max. Yeah. I'm thinking of, it doesn't matter.
The Raiders.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, is the Raiders. Sorry about that. Matt Crosby. But you had another kicker in camp, and it was Mike McCarthy that made the final call on the last members of his roster. Now, as a GM, you can hold that power, right? Where it says, listen, I believe in this kid. We're going to give this kid a shot. And you can hold that. But at the end of the day, you let your coach make that decision. And if he makes bad decisions, then it's a different conversation, right? Then he shouldn't be your coach.
At the very least, coach and GM should be talking and evaluating these players together.
Correct.
And that's where the problem. This is not sustainable.
And think about it. On cut day, when the coach is there, when the coach has seen them through training camp, he knows the players that fits in his system.
Right.
He has no say in any of it. Zero say in any of the decisions.
It's not sustainable, and it's not right. And honestly, Gutekunst has to step up and be a leader and say, Matt, we have to talk about this from now on.
He's not going to.
He's not, and it's wrong.
This is a nightmare situation that we're stuck with a kicker just because he's Goody's guy.
And we now have Josh Jacobs, which is a great
It's a
pickup.
great signing. I don't want to hear anything about it.
Hold on, I'm not making it, but you could have very easily kept Aaron Jones instead of A.J. Dillon.
Well, yeah.
And why wouldn't you consider, and LaFleur, by the way,
because that's not Goody's guy.
I know, but I listen to LaFleur. Jones carried that team for the last 9 weeks as well as Jordan Love.
Right.
Why do you get rid of a guy like that? And yes, the answer is because he's not Goody's guy.
He was drafted by Ted Thompson. It was one of Ted Thompson's last drafts. And it's this ego thing, and now it's his team, but it's just like, you're going to play with my team, which I get. You're going to play with your team. I mean, you built it, but you need to be that guy that's in the background, bringing in players for the coach to evaluate and have that discussion.
Coaches need to coach, but the GM needs to work with said coach, and there's not right now. And in a Packer organization, that's a recipe for disaster long term.
Well, especially when thinking of Matt LaFleur saying there, like, listen, guys, I understand what you're saying to his players, but I have no control of taking him off this team.
It makes him look small.
It makes him look very, very small. You need to have that authority in your locker room to make those decisions. Matt LaFleur also didn't want Aaron Rodgers to go.
Right. Which, okay, that was the right decision at that time. And I don't mean small as in not a big man, but small as in power-wise.
Correct. Not an authoritative figure.
It's got to be his team.
Right. Okay, I need to ask you about one thing. Aaron Rodgers. This is his last chance.
Oh, yeah.
This is it. After last year, when that team floundered with the team that he built around him, he needs to come back and take this team to a Super Bowl. Or he's out of the league. Nobody's going to want to work with him.
Well, and the Jets have been doing some things to bring him in a lot of talent. In this draft, the Jets had better go and get another offensive lineman instead of going, they picked up a couple veterans, injury issues, blah, blah, blah. They need to draft offensive line. My gut feel is, though, Rodgers are going to be sitting there going, no, I need more weapons. Give me a tight end. Give me a tight end. They need to get a left tackle.
David Bakhtiari.
Another injured player? No, they need to go and draft someone.
I've heard a couple of different things for them to bring in. They definitely need a line, but they also do need weapons. And I've heard them trading up even to get Marvin Harrison Jr., which is great if you do all that. But Aaron Rodgers, he's got to step up in a big, big, big way.
He just needs to focus on football, and I think he will.
Well, he's not the VP anymore, which was very sad, by the way.
It's very good.
No, he would have been a good vice president.
Someday, maybe, but not now. Play football.
Right now.
Play football.
He could have been a great vice president. In Rodgers, we trust.
Okay. Thank you. Speaking of fanboy, I love Aaron Rodgers too. He's a Packer Hall of Famer. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Best to ever play the positions as far as some of the throws he made. But this is going to be a huge year, and I'm not sure in the AFC that he can lift the Jets over all the other quarterbacks they have to go against.
Well, then let's look at the over-unders.
All right, let's do that.
Let's see. We're talking Jets, but let's start from alphabetical order, specifically because that's what it's in for me.
God, you were going to do that. I thought you were throwing me a curveball. I was going to be doing this all the time.
No, we are going to go alphabetical order here on the over-unders. Some interesting teams here. We got the Arizona Cardinals we're going to start with. Their over-under is 6.5.
That seems low to me.
Oh, I don't think so.
I think they're going to, if you have a landing place for Marvin Harrison Jr., assuming there's not a trade made.
There's going to be a trade made.
Minnesota's talking about trading with them or with New England.
Right.
To get up and grab J.J. McCarthy is the rumor, which whatever.
A player that's thrown five passes over 20 yards in his senior season.
I think the Cardinals will win 7 or 8.
I think they win 6.
Okay.
5 or 6.
All right, next one.
I'm taking the under completely on the Arizona Cardinals.
Falcons is at 10.5.
The Falcons at 10.5. I think they're going to be right at that, honestly. I think they're going to win 11 games.
They're going to be either 10-7, 11-6, one of the two.
Yep.
So I'm going to say it's going to be a push.
You can't say a push. You can't win.
Well, there can be a tie.
But you're still at 10 or 11. This is wins. This isn't
It's the NFC. It's the NFC South. I'll take the 11.
So
I'll take the over.
All right, so you're taking the over. So I got over on them too. Baltimore Ravens at 11.5.
I think they take a step back. I'm going to take the under.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd say the other because I agree with you on this. And I also think they're going to take a step back. They still haven't addressed the weapons. It depends what they do in the draft. I mean, if they come away with some tools in the draft, then maybe. Lamar Jackson showed a lot last year, and he had an MVP season, but all of a sudden it comes into the playoffs, and I don't know. I'm going to take the under on them as well. Buffalo Bills also sitting at 10.5.
They're a one-man team. I think they're taking a step back as well. I think they're going to be in that 9-win.
I bet against him and was almost right last year, as well as you did. We both picked them not to make the playoffs. I think that they're going to be one of the best teams in the AFC this year because I think a lot of the big teams are going to take a step back. I actually have the over. I think they're going to be like a 12-13 win team.
Okay.
Carolina Panthers, 4.5.
I think they're going to be under that. I think they're another 3 or 4 win team.
Here's the thing in the NFL, while 4.5 is such a tantalizing number, especially in the gambling world, because even the Panthers last year were in some one-play games where their record could have looked very different.
Look at the Packer game.
Yeah, they had a couple of those where something goes their way and all of a sudden they win the game. I think they're going to be the first overall pick. I don't know. Can Bryce Young take that next step? And I just don't think he can, but I'm going to take the over just because I don't know why. I'm taking the under. I am. I think about it more and more, and it's like,
you see what I deal with
work.
Every day of my life. I talk to him.
It's fun. Do I take the under?
Well, you already did, so we're done. We're moving on to Chicago Bears, 8.5.
Who the heck gave the Bears an 8.5 over under?
This is all on them getting Caleb Williams?
Under. A lot under. You could have given them 4.5 and I would have picked the under. Under 8.5. If you bet the over on an 8.5 for the Bears, you think the Bears without a quarterback on their roster right now are going to be a 9-win team?
Even with the weapons they picked up.
Okay, DeAndre Swift, who was injured his entire career in Detroit and got injured in Philadelphia, and by the way, hasn't ever played well in the cold in Chicago. You have DJ Moore, who's been great. You don't have any other receivers there on that team, and you're going to draft a quarterback that has no business being in the NFL.
Which is why you and I both said, keep the pick or trade it. Go down a little bit.
Who's giving the Bears 8.5 wins?
Number one, I'll go on record saying they should draft Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams.
They should trade the pick and draft Bo Nix. If you're going to draft a quarterback that has upside, it's Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr.
Okay, so we're both taking the under on this one.
Dude, that's a stupid line. Even Bears fans are looking at that like it's a stupid line. Cincinnati Bengals, 10.5.
Taking over.
Yeah.
Taking over. Burrow's going to be back.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be
this
one
is
of the
their
better
chance.
teams.
It's a weak AFC, and if Burrow can stay healthy, it's just a matter of what you do with T. Higgins. I mean, that's going to be if you get it. Because even if T. Higgins stays and just plays on the franchise tag, I mean, is he really going to be impactful?
I think when the competitive juices start to flow, Burrow's
contracts
back.
Make a big deal because he's putting himself on that line to get hurt. He's going to hold out. Or be traded.
I still think they're going to do it, and they're going to do something with Higgins.
I think they're going to trade him. If I'm the Bengals, I try and trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr. And make T. Higgins part of that package.
Or neighbors. You go and get one of those top 3 receivers. Cleveland Browns, 8.5.
Under.
It all depends on Watson.
That's why I said under. I think this is also a stupid line. They got lucky last year because they have a coach that was able to adapt, and they got some people to play way beyond what they were capable of playing, including Joe Flacco at that time. Listen, great quarterback, don't get me wrong, Super Bowl winner, had a great career. He's 38 years old.
He had one final season in the sun,
and
as
they got him
say.
Another contract.
Yes.
And good for him. He's probably going to play another 3 years. It's the Josh McCown thing for the Bears. Remember when Josh McCown lit it up for the Bears and his career was over? He was also sitting on the couch and got a chance with the Bears and just turned it into another 5 years of his career. And Flacco did the same thing.
And have over $1 million a check, a season check. Right. I'm taking that. I'm going under as well. Dallas Cowboys, 10.5.
This is a good line.
It's a good line. It's going to be 10 or 11.
They've won 12 games the last 3 years. They're sticking with Dak Prescott. They did readjust his contract, but it's definitely a this is your last year type of contract.
For him and McCarthy.
This is it. I could see an implosion, except for the fact if you look at the NFC East, it is not going to be good this year.
No. I'm still going to take the over because I think they get to 11 wins at least.
I also want to take the over, but you took the over. And that makes me angry. And I don't know why. I'm taking the over on the Cowboys as well.
Denver Broncos, 5.5.
I'm taking the under because I'm looking at their running game. And their running game and their offensive line is aging pretty bad.
We were on to Denver.
Yeah, I changed my mind though. We're going back. The Cowboys are going under on this one. They're gonna still win the division, but they're gonna do it with 10 games.
Okay. Denver Broncos have no quarterback. 5.5.
They're gonna have an over on this one. With Sean Payton running the helm, he's gonna draft the guy he wants. I hear a lot of people talking Bo Nix.
I heard Penix as well.
I've heard Penix as well. I think that it depends on the quarterback they draft, really.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't think any of these quarterbacks are going to work out in the draft anyway. I just think that they're going to be better this year.
I think they'll be better. Peyton's going to have his own team in place. I think they get to 6, maybe 7.
I mean, they won over that many games with Russell Wilson at the helm. So,
yeah, well, now they have no one at the helm.
Yeah, but Sean Payton's at the helm.
Okay.
And that's a big win.
Detroit.
10.5 is a big line.
Well, it's Detroit and Green Bay are next 2 up, and they're both at 10.5.
Over for Green Bay.
I think over.
It's 100% bias pick, but it's going to be over for Green Bay.
As
They've
long
also
as
built a good team. It depends on our kicker,
and it depends on Jordan Love taking a step forward, which I think he will.
All you need is love. Just remember that. All you need is love.
His interviews, the kid is mature beyond his years. He gets it.
Yeah.
So
the Beatles predicted this.
Anyways,
50
Detroit.
years ago.
Detroit.
Under. For Detroit. Under 10.5 for Detroit.
I think them and the Packers are both going to be over.
All right.
Houston Texans, 9.5.
CJ Stroud is the next star in this league.
But this is where sophomore slump really comes in.
Uh-huh. But he's an Ohio State quarterback.
Fanboy.
It's the over. I mean, here's the difference, though. When you see a sophomore slump more than anything, especially when you think of Trevor Lawrence, right? Trevor Lawrence doesn't have any really good weapons. He has an underperforming offensive line. He has receivers that really aren't anything special. You have a running back that's really never gotten his footing in the NFL and doesn't have a lot of support on defense.
Jackson.
I'm just saying, you're talking sophomore slump. That's where it happens. CJ Stroud, he also had...
Actually, he didn't have a sophomore slump. He had a third-year slump.
Yes, but
because his
first year doesn't count. First year doesn't count at all.
Getting back to Houston, God, really?
Just saying sophomore slump. I'm giving you example. I'm painting a picture. Just call me Bob Ross. With the Houston Texans, I don't see that. I don't. I think Nico Collins is great. I think Tank Dell is great. Their running back situation it's opened up with the passing game. You have a defensive coach in D'Amico Ryans, who has proven to be an outstanding coach in this league and a great hire by Houston. I don't think you're going to see it. I picked the over on this one.
I do as well, largely because of the division they're in.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud is a class of that division, hands down.
He is. Indiana Colts.
Indiana Colts. Depends on Anthony Richardson. Their over-under is 8.5.
Under.
I think they're going to be under because I don't think Richardson stays healthy, and they don't have Gardner Minshew anymore. Gardner Minshew.
Well, you shouldn't have to rely on a backup quarterback. You have Joe Flacco as your backup in Indiana now, or Indianapolis, I should say. If you're relying on your backup quarterback again this year, then Anthony Richardson's turning into a bust. He's going to take steps forward this year for sure.
He's got to stay healthy.
But he also hasn't had a full year in the NFL. They're going to be under this year. Jonathan Taylor can't stay healthy.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm taking the under as well. But I think it's going to have everything to do with Richardson. Now we can talk about the Jaguars. This is Trevor Lawrence's last shot, or he's a career backup after this.
He won't be a career backup. A lot of people still believe in him. A lot of people thinking he's got the raw end of the deal. Don't forget, a lot of people don't think that who's their head coach again?
Peterson.
A lot of people
Super Bowl winning
who was fired shortly after he won the Super Bowl. There's a lot of people in the world right now that don't think much of Doug Peterson as a head coach. They just don't.
I think they're going to be over 8.5.
Yeah, I'm taking the over too.
Okay.
But here's the thing, though. They need to address a lot in the draft. They just don't have a good team. They haven't really built up around Trevor Lawrence. They've signed random players here and there, but what they needed to do is what happened with CJ Stroud, what's happening with Jordan Love, what Anthony Richardson doesn't really get to have either, is you don't have those wide receivers you get to grow up with.
Right.
It's been a shuffling door of wide receivers, which means you don't get on the same page, which means you have a lot of issues in those categories. And he's really been given the raw end of the stick here from the word go. He went to a terrible team, and the reason they've won as many games as they have is specifically because of Trevor Lawrence's play.
Look, I'm going to go with the over slightly. I think it's going to be 9.
They're an 11-win team this
They
year.
are not an 11-win because they're going to lose twice probably to Houston at least.
They'll split.
Okay.
They just need to move
I'm
out of
going-
Jacksonville to
I'm
start to win.
Well, they need to go to St. Louis. Anyways, the next one, big signing for the Chiefs. They got Carson Wentz as their backup this year.
Yeah. And
They're-
lost their top receiver from last year.
Their over-under is 11.5.
Under. By a lot. They're an 8-win team.
No, they're going to, not with Andy Reid. They will be a 10 or 11-win team, so I'll take the under as well.
They're my Bills this year.
I'm not going to do that with Andy Reid because Andy Reid is
I think you're going to see Travis Kelce take a step back.
He started to last year.
Yep.
They've got to get him more weapons. And so what
You
it's
have
going
no
to be,
wide
this
receivers.
is an interesting draft for Kansas City.
Well, there's not a lot of wide receivers in this draft.
And you can't really move up. Not
Nope.
that far.
Not that far.
Okay.
They're pick 32. They're going to be
All right.
under this year, and they're going to not be a great team.
Raiders over under 6.5. Gardner Minshew's not going to be their quarterback all year. I think they draft somebody, and I think it'll be over by a little, like 7.
You went with a temporary head coach here.
Who proved himself last year? He's a full-time head coach now.
Yeah, he's temporary head coach.
Got Devontae Adams.
Okay. He's put up numbers every year. They still lost. You still can't figure out the quarterback position at all.
Well, that's why they're going to draft somebody.
They're going to be under. This is
Okay.
going to be another bad year for the Raiders.
Chargers 8.5. This is all a Harbaugh pick,
Under. How can you give a team that really hasn't won in the last few
and they've
years?
gotten rid of some
You
of
have
the talent.
no weapons.
They're going to be under this year. They'll be better next year.
Again, talk about a kid that didn't get to grow with his wide receivers. He was given aged veterans and just put in there and said, go win. Hasn't gotten a chance to grow. Why do people do this to their quarterbacks?
Harbaugh is a great coach.
Yes, I think he's
And
proven
he's
that.
going to do a great job, but I
He
think
cheated in Michigan.
he
but
didn't cheat.
He did
Stop
cheat.
your Ohio
he
State
stole
fanboying.
signs.
Chargers will win under this year, but next year they're going to be
They're going to be much better the
over.
next couple of years because you're going to get him young wide receivers that he now gets to grow with.
the Los Angeles Rams.
Ugh.
It's all depending on Stafford, obviously.
Uh-huh.
I think he stays healthy. He'll get them to 9 wins, maybe 10.
I think this is his last year, and I think it's going to be going out in a whimper. He should have retired after the Super Bowl. They're going to be under this year.
Okay. Miami Dolphins 10.5.
Over.
Think?
Yeah. I do. I believe in Tua. If he can stay healthy, you still have Tyreek Hill. They lost some players, but they gained some players at the same time. Mike McDaniels is a very good coach that runs a very efficient offense.
I think it'll be 11. It's either them or Buffalo that's going to win. I'm taking Buffalo, take a step back, so I'll take Miami on the over.
All right.
The Minnesota Vikings.
6.5 with Sam Darnold. Here's the thing. Sam Darnold, I think, is going to be much better this year.
Everybody's saying Minnesota trades up and they draft their quarterback. But
That's
I don't
fine,
think
but
they
you're
should
still gonna
start
have
him.
Sam Darnold as
Yeah.
your starter. Here's the thing: is you have 3 teams we picked over. So we picked the Lions to you picked the Lions to win 11 games and the Packers to win 11 games.
I did.
I picked the Lions to be under. I think they're going to win 8 or 9 games.
No, they're better than that.
I just don't know. There's not enough room. You're going to have a bad Bears team, but
Minnesota's
you have
going to
Aaron
win.
Jones.
They'll win 7.
I think they'll win 7 games too. I do.
New England Patriots 4.5.
It's hard to lose 4 games and to only win only 4 games in the
But
NFL.
they are going to find a way. They have nothing. They are going to trade out. They're not going to get a quarterback this year. They're going to get draft picks. This year is a wash.
You don't think they're going to draft a quarterback this year?
No, they're going to trade out. I think they're the team that's going to trade out more than the Cardinals.
Really?
I think they know they have to get a bunch of position players and a bunch of weapons before you bring in a quarterback. Look what's happened
It's a
so
defensive head coach.
far. Exactly. I'm taking them at a 4-win team.
I think they're going to win 6 or 7 games.
All right.
I really do. It's so hard to lose 4 games or to win only 4 games in the
And
NFL.
yet people do every year.
No, but it's
New Orleans,
crazy to me.
New Orleans Saints, 7.5.
Oh, under.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they're a good team.
Okay.
They lost Michael Thomas. I mean, they have a couple of weapons at wide receiver. They really don't have anybody at running back. And do you believe in Derek Carr?
Better than most. He's the second best quarterback in that division. I'd take Carr over
Baker?
Baker
You're out of
Mayfield.
your damn mind.
No, I'd take him healthy. I will take Derek Carr. I think they get to 8 wins.
8 wins?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay.
No.
Giants, 6.5.
How do you give the Panthers 4.5, the Patriots 4.5, and give the Giants 6.5? They just lost their offense when Saquon Barkley left.
And they're going to draft a quarterback.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was the worst signing in all of football.
I don't know how the
Daniel
GM has
Jones.
kept his job through this.
I don't know. It is a bad
Then
team.
let's not waste time on them. Over or under?
Under.
Under as well. The New York Jets.
They're going to be the
9.5.
first team to go 17-0 with Aaron Rodgers at the helm.
Okay. The division's bad. No, division's really good.
I was going to
because
say,
you
it's
got
the Bills,
you
the
got the
Dolphins.
New England is bad, is what I meant.
Yes.
I think it's going to be over. And I think
It better be.
Rodgers is going to get him
For
to
Rodgers' legacy.
He's going to get him to
better
11
be.
wins. 11 wins.
11 wings?
11 wings. 11. He's on the Jets, so he's going to be out there on the wing throwing
Hey,
balls.
Get the captain pin, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the Jets are going to be over. The Philadelphia Eagles, 10.5.
I think they're going to be under.
Me too. They're going to take a big step back this year.
Pittsburgh,
Ooh,
7.5. This had to be before.
I doubt it.
I think Wilson goes 10 games.
Wilson didn't move that line at all in Vegas.
No, but Fields will.
He's not going to play.
He'll play at some point.
Not until at least week 10.
I know. So, 7.5.
It's a 6th-round pick if he plays less than 51% of the snaps.
They're going to get to 8 wins.
It's Tomlin. He doesn't have losing seasons. They're going to get to 10 wins.
Yeah, I was going to say, he'll get to 9 or 10 with Tomlin.
Yeah, I mean, if it was Kenny Pickett still as their quarterback, then yeah, they're going to have 0 wins. But the fact that Whopper
That's
Jr.
cold.
hands, man.
That's cold.
Well, I'll have bigger hands, and I'll have bigger faith in you. That's how it goes. Can't hold a
Okay.
football. They're going to be over. I think that Russell Wilson's going to have a decent season, and I think Justin Fields is going to come in later in the season and light it up.
Justin Fields is going to turn the corner, and he'll be their quarterback for the next 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a next Pittsburgh Steeler legend.
Yeah.
And the Bears are going to look stupid yet again.
San Francisco 49ers, 11.5.
Under.
Think of the division.
Okay. What do you want? Is Seattle,
The Rams,
Arizona?
they're going to be over. They're going to
They're
be
going to
over.
win all their division games.
They're going to be over. They will.
You actually changed my mind on that.
They're going to win 11. Or
11 and a
12.
half?
They're going to win 12.
No, they're not going to win 12 games.
They will.
Nuh-uh. They are
How
not
are
going to
they
win
not?
12 games.
How are they
They
not?
still haven't signed Ayuk. And that's
Ayuk
a
may be
huge
gone.
weapon.
They may still trade him.
You saw Debo Samuel take a step back last year.
They
Christian McCaffrey, he's been healthy lately. It's a question if he can stay healthy.
They will get to 12 this year. Next year is a big step
No,
backwards.
no,
Yes.
no.
All right.
They're going to win 10 games this year.
You're wrong. Seattle, 7.5.
Under.
Again, the division.
Yes,
Somebody's
yes,
got to
yes.
win 8 games there. I already said the Rams are going to.
I've picked San Francisco as the only winning team out of that division. And I think that's completely fair.
I think they're going to take a step back and be at 7 wins.
I think the only reason they were winning was because of Pete Carroll. You got rid of the only reason that you were winning.
All right. Tampa Bay, 8.5. May they lose every game.
Over. I think Tampa Bay is going to be a sneaky good team this year. This is their last hurrah with Mike Evans. It's as long as they can stay healthy.
Okay, then you're saying they're going to be better than Atlanta with Kirk Cousins?
No. I think it can be right there. I think Atlanta wins the division, but I think Tampa Bay is also a winning team.
I think they'll get to 9 wins.
I think they'll get to 10 or 11 wins.
Okay. Tennessee Titans.
5.5. Under. They're going to be one of the worst teams in football.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough year for them. I agree. I'm going to say they get to 6, so I'll take the over. Washington Commanders. Where do you get 7.5 from?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't see it. They're going to draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
Probably.
Actually, you know what? Hold on. I might go back on Seattle a little bit here. No, I'm going to stick with it.
Okay.
Sam Howell's their quarterback. I'm going to stick with it. Washington, I don't know where you're getting these numbers from. You also don't have a quarterback. Under.
It's a bad division. I mean, they've got Philadelphia, you've got Dallas, and everybody else.
Yeah.
Giants and Washington. I think Washington maybe gets to 7 wins.
That's heavy praise for a team that is completely rebuilding, sold all their pieces in the middle of the season last year. I mean, they're just not going to be a good
Faith
team.
in Dan Quinn.
Yeah, but even Dan Quinn needs a year to rebuild this thing. I mean, you literally left the old coach out there floundering for seasons with no intent of doing anything with that team.
I will believe in Washington again when they either go back to the Washington football team or go back to a team that honored the Native Americans like the Redskins did. It was not a derogatory as much as people say it was.
Bring back the logo.
Logo for sure.
Logo was made by a Native American chief in the area of Washington, D.C.
Actually, wasn't he from Boston?
That's the area of Washington, D.C.
Okay, fine.
I mean, Boston is closer to D.C. than Milwaukee is to Madison.
If you haven't read the history of the Washington football team, go read it because you're going to learn a lot.
That you are. Well, those are our terrible over-under picks that we're probably not going to get anything right on. I'm sure we'll do it again and completely change our mind after the draft and closer to the season.
22 days till the draft?
22 days.
23 days.
23 days. I don't know.
22 tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
When this drops, it'll be 22 days to the draft. We will have draft picks guaranteed to go wrong in the next week or two.
It's going to get ugly.
Yes.
But listen to us anyways, because why not? Our picks may be better than yours, but probably not. We've had a great show, but as you all know, you cannot have a conversation with your father without your dad getting the last word. So it is all you.
I will never forget this day as long as I live. April 8th, 1974. It's the 50th anniversary of Hank Aaron breaking Babe Ruth's all-time run record by hitting 715. Of course, Hank went on to hit 755, still the all-time record. In pitching that night was Al Downing. And left field that night was the guy who would become infamous later on for Boston. It was a young, very young Bill Buckner. Calling the game on NBC was, of course, Vin Scully. And he, as only Vin could say, what a marvelous moment for baseball. What a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking the record of an all-time baseball idol. For me personally, I never thought of Henry Aaron in any other way other than he was my hero, baseball hero growing up. He wasn't black. He was just the best baseball player I'd ever seen. And he was breaking the ultimate, at that time, the ultimate record in any sport was the all-time home run record. And he broke it. It came out afterward that he had to play those games under death threats and under some of the most vile, vicious racism this country has ever seen. For most of America, though, especially kids that were my age at the time, he was just a great athlete chasing the record. There was no other thought as whether he was black, white, red, purple. He was the hammer. He was Hank freaking Aaron, a guy who we all wanted to swing like and who I failed miserably when I tried to swing like Hank Aaron, which is why I went nowhere playing baseball. I miss those days. America at that time was on the path of being colorblind. There were morons like there always will be who judge people based on their color. But there was never the thought of having separate dorm rooms or separate dorm facilities or separate graduations. It was about bringing the country together. White and black, to judge people on their character and how they carried themselves and how they performed. Hank Aaron exemplified that. He was a man of class and dignity. I got to meet him once, and I've probably the only time I've ever been starstruck in my life was meeting Henry Aaron. This day should be remembered always and we should be going forward instead of going backward. Remember Hank Aaron's legacy of bringing the country together and rooting for a guy just because he was a great player. That's it.
Nice. That was a good one.
I loved Henry Aaron.
I never would have guessed.
When he died, there's going to be a few moments like that. Bob Uecker passes away. I'll have a tear in my eye. Hank Aaron, when he passed away, it choked me up.
Yeah.
Because he was just the best.
He was iconic.
Yes, he was.
Thank you so much, as always, for watching. This has been Sports Talk with Dad. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.